What you got? My name is Lord, and decades ago I was a clinical psychologist. But I'm in my 80s now, and I've been retired a long time. And I used to think I knew some pretty important things about being human, complicated things. Now, not so much. Not so sure. In those days, I didn't overlook maybe the most important things. I'll tell you one thing I do know. There's one thing that all of us human beings have in common. All 7.5 billion of us. We all want to be happy. And we do some pretty far out things to get there. And for the most part, they don't work. At least not for long. And it may be that I've been hanging out on this planet for so long, but for some reason I know a few secrets about being happy that I'd like to share with you. At times, I think those secrets have been whispered to me by these beautiful forests you see all around. Come take a little hike with me that way, if you've got a few minutes, and we'll talk about it. We're in the Prescott National Forest here, about 1.25 million acres of wildlands. And this part of the forest has lots of giant granite boulders that geologists say are about 1.5 billion years old. So they're the great granddaddies of the forest. By comparison, I'm just a young pup playing around in here. And by the way, my dogs will be joining us on our little walk here, so just keep an eye on them because they're showing us something really important. See if you can spot what that is. And I'll come back to that in a minute. Well, I've been lucky enough to live in the middle of this forest for the last 20 years. I'm out here with my dog pals every day, rain, snow, sleet, heat. We don't care. I love it out here. And I've thought about why that is. What it is that draws me out here. Well, for one thing, when I'm back in the civilized man-made world, almost everything I see has been run through the human mind. So what you're seeing in that world is man-made thoughts that have been formed into man-made stuff. Buildings, cars, iPhones, office cubicles. Now, let's face it, about 90% of our thoughts are repetitive, nagging nonsense. Our little thoughts are right at home in that man-made environment where like begets like. A closed loop where nothing fresh and new can break in. Where stale thoughts are echoed and amplified. Just like when you put a microphone too close to a speaker, you get an audio feedback loop that grows to that god-awful screaming howl. I know many a silent scream occurs in those office cubicles. Get me out of this place. In extreme cases, your little thoughts can follow you and harass you like a swarm of gnats. Speaking of little gnats, I see you, Ladybug. Come on, go over here. Atta girl. And when I see you too, Haley, you're wiser than I am. You're not about to jump over the crevice. You leave that for the young pups. Let's see, where were we? Yeah, unlike those little thoughts, your senses are showing you this forest, which is it's festival of fresh, living things growing, changing colors, changing shapes, flying around, singing in the trees. So your senses they're feeding you a steady stream of things that are really happening. So your thoughts are showing you stuff that's not happening, like your dentist appointment tomorrow, say, or some criticism you received a week ago. Not happening. See the difference? When your vision is filled with like this living forest here, there's nothing for those little thoughts to really stick to. You just notice them, let them pass through, and get back to seeing, hearing, sensing. Notice how thoughts live in time. They're really made out of time. But seeing and sensing, on the other hand, are timeless, here, happening. Big difference. Now, when we look at objects around us, we have a strong tendency to grab them with our eyes, try to capture them, so to speak. So instead of reaching out with our eyes, just try relaxing your gaze. Just relax the way you look. Relax your body. Take a deep breath and let those natural surroundings come to you. And they will, believe me, no efforts required or wanted for that kind of seeing. That's sometimes referred to as seeing with soft eyes. And I like that phrase because that's how it feels. When you reach out and grasp with your eyes, you tend to bring back a thought. But when you allow nature to come to you, you get the real thing, something beautiful and truthful. With soft eyes, you look at scenes as a whole, like you would a painting, without naming things and picking out parts, without judging, analyzing what you see, because then you're back in your head again. In other words, don't do seeing. Just let it happen with a feeling of gratitude and without effort. There are times when there can be tremendous power in not doing, just being mentally still. Those are the times when healing or inspiration are likely to happen. Because see, we often don't give them a space to happen. You know those trail signs that they place in the forest? They show a map and a symbol that says, "You are here." Of course, you're not there on that map. But the mind, it has no problem with that bit of misinformation. It puts you right on that map. And when you've got the map figured out, it puts you back on the trail. And you hike off down the trail, and in a couple of minutes, maybe, your mind transports you to your job, where you have some kind of issue going on with your boss. So the mind does have the ability to move you to 1,000 different places in space and time. But there's only one place it can move you to that's real. And of course, that place is here. And here is home. It's your only home. So when I see a sign on a trail or a shopping mall or a public building that says, "You are here," I take it as a sutra, a sacred teaching. The truth is, we really can't take control of our thoughts. Well, if we could, nobody would have an unhappy or depressing thought, really. And resisting thoughts only keep them alive and makes them more intense. No, we just let thoughts run on as you would some cheesy radio station blabbing to itself in the background. Fortunately, though, we have a lot of control over where we put our attention. So I'll say it one more time, just in case you missed it. To be awake when you're out in nature, put your attention on what your senses are showing you. They're showing you something real, peaceful, beautiful. Real displaces fake easily and naturally. Real trumps not happening thoughts. Real leaves no room for them. Oh, and finally, let's get back to our dog companions and what they're teaching us. Notice how they savor their senses. Those eyes, those noses, those ears, they don't miss a thing. And notice they're happy out here. I mean, really happy. I wonder why that is. Well, I hope you can begin to see how these not happening junk tapes that we keep running in our minds can cover up the most precious gift we've all been given, being alive. And I know that none of us need any more rules about how we should act and how we should be when we're trying to have a good time. But even if it's just for a minute or two, being awake in this kind of way, it can make your day, turn your day around. And you may even find that you'll be doing it more and more in other situations. It's addictive. And that can change the way things appear. It can change the way you see and hear things, the meaning of the things you see and hear. But don't take my word for it. Try it. Find out for yourself. I've got more ideas about enjoying nature, enjoying life, really. And I'd like to share those with you in part 2 of hiking while awake. And meanwhile, keep in mind, you are here.